Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to TFX and our discussion of some recent IRS letters. It's always interesting to work with clients from all over the world, and I assume that we have people attending from many different places right now. Tax season has just started, but there have already been several updates from the IRS, far more than what we'd expect in a normal year. This includes notifications sent by the IRS about the stimulus payments, the advanced child tax credit, and a letter some people may erroneously be sent saying that they did not file their tax return. We will also briefly discuss the proposed new identification system for the IRS that has already been postponed. So let's dive in. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Sheldon Waxman. I've been a CPA for over 40 years, and I agree that dealing with the IRS is not fun. The agents need to go by the rules, and the rules can be counterintuitive and arbitrary. On the other hand, the letters that they send out usually sound scarier than they really are, especially the ones threatening asset confiscation. There is a long procedure necessary for this, and it can take a long time. Let us know when you get these, and TFX will calmly explain your options and responsibilities. My colleagues, Reed and David, will be helping out today by answering some of your questions that you might want to send in. To do that, please use the Q&A section of the screen. Do not use the chat area, as that will make it more difficult for us to include those comments in an email that we will send to all the attendees within a few days. Please keep your questions limited to today's topics. We will try to get to all of your questions, but remember, there are a lot of people participating, but only 3 of us on this end. Let me tell you a little bit about who we are and our experience filing tax returns. At TFX, we've been doing this for a long time. With over 25 years in business and over 40,000 tax returns filed, our team can help you with any U.S. tax preparation issues. We're the top-rated firm for tax preparation. You can see over 3,000 online testimonials to see how our clients love working with us and the value that we provide. We have over 80 CPAs and EAs with decades of experience preparing tax returns and working with the IRS rules and regulations. Most everyone knows what a CPA is, but many are not aware of an EA or an enrolled agent. While a CPA is licensed by each state to prepare tax returns and corporate reports, an EA is licensed directly by the IRS to do tax work. All of the returns that we prepare are done by either a CPA or an EA, and then checked by a second CPA or EA. We file returns for taxpayers globally. Whether you're in the US or abroad, TFX is here to help. Let's go over the agenda of what we'll cover. We'll cover all the new informational IRS letters that have so many people asking questions. And then we'll also talk about how the IRS is looking for additional ways to verify access to their systems with additional security safeguards. And we'll finish by going over upcoming filing deadlines, both for individuals and businesses. As I said earlier, as we're going through the webinar, you'll likely have questions. Don't forget to use the Q&A on your Zoom panel, and we'll make sure to cover those questions. Do not use the chat. We'll send you a recording and a Q&A transcript at the end, so you don't have to worry about seeing all of it now. You'll have access to it at any time. And let's get started. As everyone is aware, the recent pandemic had a devastatingly negative effect on the US and world economies. In order to lessen the pain, the US sent out economic impact payments, also known as stimulus checks, to all those eligible. These payments were meant to be tax-free, and if properly received, there was no need to report this income on your tax return. Most people received these payments directly into their bank accounts, and many others successfully received these payments through the mail. However, some checks were lost in the mail, especially those sent to taxpayers residing outside the US. That's where TFX can help recover any payments that weren't received. We will help reconcile the amount that was received with the full amount due on your 2021 tax return and ensure that you get every dollar you are entitled to. If you were eligible for, but didn't receive the first 2 checks, we included these as refundable credits on your 2020 tax return. If the IRS refused the credits and said they did send the checks, we showed how you could still claim the money. And we'll do the same thing for the 3rd stimulus payment sent in 2021 on the 2021 tax return. The IRS has sent out two different notices about the payments that were sent. Next slide, please. The first was a 1444C sent during 2021, letting people know that the third stimulus payment was either deposited automatically or mailed. This was similar to the 1444A and 1444B notices that were sent in 2020 about the first two payments. But this year, they also did something different. They're sending a 6475 letter to summarize how much stimulus payment you received in 2021. You should upload this letter to your TFX portal, and we'll determine if you need to claim any additional payment on the tax return. If you didn't receive the 6475, you may use the 1444C instead. Either way, it's important that you let your preparer know how much you received so that we can make sure we file your return accurately. And here you can see the sample letter received from the IRS. Now, before we head to the next section, we have a quick poll of whether you received a 6475. And we'll wait about 30 seconds for everyone to answer the poll question. And there's 4 different choices for you to choose from. But there is a right or wrong answer for each of you, but we won't know. Okay, so now let's advance to the next screen. Another benefit the government gave to help the economy recover during the pandemic was the advanced child tax credit. Normally, child tax credits are provided at the time of filing a return, but as part of the plan to get cash into taxpayer hands faster, the IRS paid half of the amount estimated for the 2021 return in advance monthly payments beginning in July of 2021. Excuse me. Now, if you live abroad, this likely isn't applicable to you. This benefit was only available to taxpayers who lived at least 6 months in the US. So let's go into some of the details. You can see an example of the 6419 on the screen right now. To be eligible for this credit, you had to live in the US for over 6 months in 2021, so expats are not likely to receive this. The letters are intended to show the amount of advance payment and the number of qualified children that were used to calculate the payment. These numbers were based on the taxpayer's return of 2020, and unfortunately, many of the letters contained misleading information. So let's dig in to see why. The letter 6419 was supposed to show what the IRS paid in advance credits and on how many children it was calculated, but some of these letters were sent before the December payment, and so they would be incorrect. You can go to the Child Tax Credit Update portal, which you can see on this slide, to get the actual amount of money sent by the IRS. Second, the amounts paid were based on information from 2020 tax returns. So if the number of eligible children in your family changed during 2021, or if your income was significantly different, the actual amount of child tax credit may be different from this initial assumption. But the information on the 6419 will still be used to calculate the correct remaining amount of child tax credit due for the year. Be aware that if the taxpayer's income or number of eligible children caused them to become ineligible for child tax credits in 2021, any advance credit money that was received will become taxable income. But don't worry, TFX will handle everything for you. We will help reconcile the amount received with the full amount due on your 2021 tax return, ensuring that our clients will receive every dollar that they are due. So let's move on to the final form that will cover the CP80. But before we do that, we want to understand, have you filed your 2021 return? And there's the poll question. We'll wait about 30 seconds. And while we're waiting, I'll just remind you that if you live outside the US and have never filed any tax returns because you did not know that you needed to, you may be eligible for the streamlined forward procedure. Under this program, you will currently have to file returns for the years 2018 through 2020 and pay any tax due plus interest, but the IRS will not charge any penalty for late filing. Also, they will forgive filing for years before 2018. So you should let us know if this applies to you. And there's 3 questions on the poll. And I think we can continue now. Okay, now let's continue with the letter that no one wants to see. After going through all the effort to organize your financial records, and after paying the amount that was due, you might receive a letter that you're delinquent on your return and informing you that you must file as soon as possible. This was sent by the IRS to millions of taxpayers by mistake. Note that there is an unbelievable backlog of around 24 million paper 2020 returns at this time, which will delay refunds for paper filing tax returns in 2021. Of course, this delay was caused by needing the agents to work from home during the pandemic, like so many others, and their productivity suffered. The letter is called the CP80, and you can see a sample of this on the screen. It says that the IRS received your payment, and it thanks you for that. But they don't know what to do with the payment because they didn't receive your tax return. But the good news is, if you receive this, don't worry. This was sent erroneously to many taxpayers who mailed in their tax returns. The IRS is very behind in processing paper returns, so they cashed the checks but have not yet processed many returns that were mailed in. If your tax return was e-filed, it's highly probable that you did not receive this letter. If you did, all you would have to do is show the IRS the confirmation of e-filing that TFX provides, and you will be fine. I do see the poll question still on the screen. I'm not sure if other people can see that. The other good news, thank you. The other good news is that the IRS has acknowledged sending these letters in error and has suspended sending them. So if you haven't gotten one, you don't have to worry about it. We've now covered the IRS letters that we wanted to discuss, but now let's move on to the new IRS security protocols that affected all taxpayers. The IRS introduced a new security protocol called ID.me, which is intended to increase security for taxpayers by ensuring that they verify their identity through this outside service. ID.me is trusted by many government agencies to provide security for the personal information of US citizens, and the IRS intended to use it to give taxpayers a way to access their tax records more easily and securely than before. But this is the second example of how the IRS has been forced to make a midstream correction. Up until now, you could request a tax transcript and see information such as your adjusted gross income and tax payments that were made. However, this was not an easy process, and the IRS intended to make this much simpler by quickly allowing people to create an IRS account online. However, the initial idea of using facial recognition software was not acceptable to many people for reasons of privacy. And now the IRS will try to come up with a better way. After first rolling out the process, the IRS issued statements that said they will roll back the ID.me experiment. They have not yet announced what they will do, but they promise they'll have some information in the coming weeks. In the meantime, this information will still be available through the tax transcripts as in the past. And finally, it may be important to many of the attendees to note some upcoming deadlines. Let's go over a few key ones. The first deadline is not a tax deadline, but a money-saving deadline. TFX provides a benefit for customers beginning in their second year by offering an early bird discount. If you have filed with TFX before, then a payment of $300 before March 1st will earn an additional $50 credit. March 15 is the deadline for all those needing to file a partnership return, a Subchapter S corporate return, or a Form 3520A for a foreign trust with a calendar year. Failure to either file the return or file for a 6-month extension by March 15th may result in substantial penalties. If you have any of these entities, you can log on to your TFX portal and request an extension at any time, and we'll handle it for you. Now back to the personal tax returns. April 18 is the due date for taxpayers who reside in the US. June 15 is the due date for taxpayers who reside outside the US on April 18. Both of these dates can be extended to October 15 by filing for an extension. You can also request an extension directly in your portal. It's super easy and will handle everything for you. And for some attendees, you may need to know the key dates for non-resident alien tax returns are April 18th for non-resident aliens with a W-2 and June 15 for those without a W-2. TFX was founded as Taxes for Expats and specialized in handling the unique problems of US citizens living outside the US, including avoiding double taxation filing initial tax returns for clients who did not know they needed to file, and helping people who wanted to file a final tax return if they gave up their citizenship. At the same time, we also continued as a tax preparer for many of the expatriates when they moved back to the US, and we have continued to expand that part of our practice. All of our preparers are fully licensed and have as much as 25 years of experience preparing taxes. All of our returns are double checked by a second CPA or EA to make sure that all credits, deductions, and exclusions available to you are included based upon your unique personal scenario. And aside from our experience, our technology is what sets us apart. Once you fill out our tax questionnaire the first time, we save all of your information, and all of the information is automatically carried forward to succeeding years, making it very easy to file your return year after year. Should you need any help, our customer success team is available live for help with procedural questions on how to enter information, and will help direct you to receive the proper service. We could spend tons of money on marketing, but we'd rather reward our loyal clients. We're focused on client satisfaction, and much of our growth comes from clients referring their friends and family. New clients who are referred by existing clients receive $25 credit to start, and the referring client also receives $25 for each referral. If you haven't yet created an account, go to tfx.tax and create an account. Once you do, you can send invites to your friends and you'll all receive the discount. With that, we'll wrap up the webinar and head to the Q&A section. A lot of questions have already been answered by Reed and David, but I'll try to answer some of the questions now. Don't forget that we'll be sending out an email with this recording and all answers to the questions that came in during today's webinar. Many questions are answered during the course of tax preparation, and if your questions are focused on tax planning, we offer consultations specifically for that too. So let's dive into some of the questions. And let's see what is. I see David Hoffman. I will, for the first time as a resident in Spain, include my spouse as a resident alien for tax purposes filing jointly. Well, which deadline applies? In this case, you're a U.S. citizen, so the regular U.S. citizen deadlines apply. And from Donald, can you receive past tax returns that were done on HR Block tax software? We cannot do. You can upload the finished return into the client uploading section, but all the information you'll have to re-enter onto our tax questionnaire, because we can only work from whatever information we have, but certainly upload the completed return. A hi to Jacob Wasserfeld, thank you. Oh, now Jacob says, I want to, under the filing deadline of my foreign trust, 3520 and 3520A, the trust has a deadline in South Africa of February 28th. So when should I submit in the USA? The 3520A, if it's assuming this is a deadline of December 31st, 2021. The deadline here for the 3520A is March 15th. And you can, like I said earlier, just let us know and we can extend that in case we don't have time to file it by March 15th. But you either need to file the return or the extension by March 15th, or you will have.
Hold on, it's March 15th for trusts that end on a calendar year.
Right. That's, yeah, I said if the return has a December 31st calendar year. Okay. Cassidy says April 18 is Easter Monday. Okay. Usually they're good about taking care of. Oh, well, Easter Monday is not Easter Monday is not a holiday in the US, I'm afraid. It's just Easter Sunday. As far as I know, April 18 is the deadline, but we'll certainly check into that. And Michael says, any possibility to claim advanced child tax credit if you lived in Canada throughout 2021? Well, for one thing, the advanced credit was paid from July to December, so it's too late anyway. And no, you wouldn't have been eligible. But you can claim the child tax credit on the return, as you have in each of the preceding years. So you'll still get all the money that you're entitled to. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Whoops. Legia says hello. Hello to you. Suzanne says, I joined this webinar to find out how to register with the IRS. I have unsuccessfully tried for 2 months. It always ends when I'm asked to verify with an American phone. I do not have that, and that's why I cannot register. The suggested registration I have never found any help on this subject. I owe money to the IRS, and I have absolutely no way to see the account. You should get in touch with our customer success team, and if necessary, they'll refer you to one of our CPAs who will help you with that. That is a difficult question. A lot of people have trouble. We managed to get them in. There certainly will be a way. Rachel says, for non-US residents, is the child tax credit higher this year? Well, if you're a US, I assume that you're still a US citizen, just not living here. The child tax credit was increased for 2022, also for 2021. So you're subject to the same rules as we have, yes, as if you were living here. Kristen asks, is the child tax credit for US citizens living abroad the same as the amount received by the US living in the US? And the answer is yes. And Juan says, thanks, and I appreciate that. And Rachel, and Chris, right? Okay. I think Michael says, does my 18-year-old child living as a student and working part-time need to prepare tax if he has enough taxable income to qualify? The answer is yes, but certainly fill out a tax questionnaire, and our CPAs will look at it and make sure that whether he does or he doesn't need to. If he doesn't need to file, we won't file for you. Mary writes, Brian here. In the period between removing our current tax preparer and hiring you, can we use IRS website feature? Where's my amended return? And a refund status, you can use those IRS websites that regardless of who your CPA is, that doesn't have any effect. My economic impact statement check was lost. What should I do? Again, contact us and we will guide you to the place where you can request another check. Were US residents, Suzanne says, were US residents living outside the US eligible for the coronavirus stimulus checks? And that's certainly a yes. That's what we've been talking about. There were 3 stimulus payments. If you're a US resident, you were eligible. So again, get in touch and we'll see what we can do to help you reclaim those. And Sia says, hello and thanks. Are Social Security benefits subject to tax in Spain? Again, that's a question, that's a good question, and our CPAs will handle that for you during tax preparation. Suzanne, thank you. Okay, who's next here? Lisa says, what is the fastest way to get an activity transcript from the IRS? You go to the IRS website and look for the transcript. There's a web page for you. If you need help, let us know. As we do the return, we'll be able to get back guide you to a transcript. Ali says, as a retired Social Security only income, do you file taxes? That you have to upload your income. Most likely, it's very possible that you won't need to, but I can't promise you that. You would need to fill out the form, and then we will guide you with that. If one person, Nashla says, if one person has kids and they're citizens since 2 years ago, but they didn't have Social Security number, can we claim the advanced child tax credit and the stimulus? The answer to that is, for the most part, no. They need Social Security numbers, but again, upload all your information and we will prepare the tax return and see if there's any way to claim anything. There are certain circumstances that something might be claimable, but we'll have to see. William Cook says, we received all 3 economic payments, but haven't received a letter. What does TFX need for documentation? Again, just upload that information into you'll see in the tax questionnaire where we ask how much you received. And you'll just write a separate note that says you didn't receive these letters. That's not a problem. Cassidy says the 1099K from PayPal issued as they were friends paying me back, not actual business expense. But when contacting PayPal, they said there's nothing they can do about it. Do I need to file this if they were not business payments? Again, we'll have to see exactly what the 1099-K says. We'll handle that during tax preparation. Mark says received advanced child tax payment, but don't live in the US. A problem? No, that's not sure how you got it, but that's good for you. And we will, when we file the return, we'll certainly take that into account as we file the return.
No, that actually I think could be a problem, Mark. You might need to pay that back. It depends on how much you were eligible for.
Right. Okay. I think I think that's enough for today. All the other questions will be answered and sent out on a on the transcript of today's webinar. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Sheldon.